Thank you so much for joining us again for another edition of Fast Forward Masterclass, brought to you by Vodacom Business. And my name is Gopolang, Ngale-lekgetha. I'll be your host for the day. Today, I'm coming from a very cloudy and rainy Johannesburg. I'm not sure where all of you guys are coming from, but so that we know what we have to do for the day, you will see a chat panel on your screen. Please use that to give us your feedback, participate, share some thoughts. And we also have a question and answer panel that I would like for you to use to just ask questions to our guest, who I'm going to introduce very shortly. So those are the two platforms that you can use to engage with us and to be a part of this exciting masterclass today. So without further delay, my guest for today is a very dynamic young lady, and I'll say young because you'll see her beautiful face shortly. I've got with me Nthabe Zondo, who holds a Master of Science degree in International Marketing Management from Leeds University Business School in the United Kingdom. Very clever lady, this. And she also serves on the board of the Food Bevsita and serves on the Food Bevsita Finance and Remuneration Committee. So we know she knows a lot about the money. We like that part. And she previously served on the Audit and Risk Committee as well of the Food Bevsita. She serves on the board of Gauteng Film Commission. In addition to these roles, Nthabe serves on the board of Bumbles, Babies. That is her own brand, which we're going to hear a little bit more about as we go on with our conversation, and as well as the Nthabe Foods board. She has over 18 years experience in international marketing strategy management and has developed brand strategies and led brands and product launches for a number of international and local brands in FMCG, as well as beverage and food, beauty, tourism, and financial services sector. She has held leadership positions at Sun International, Unilever SA, Old Mutual, and Barclays Africa. So as you can hear, she has loads of experience in many industries. But right now, Nthabe is the CEO and co-founder of Bumbles, a fast-growing premium baby food company in South Africa. And with all that said, I'd like to say, welcome, Nthabe. Thank you so much for joining us.
Wow, Gopolang, what an introduction. I almost didn't recognize myself, hey?
You've been a very busy lady, so congratulations.
It sounded so good. I'm like, is that me? Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really look forward to the session today.
So, Nthabe, we've got joining us in this virtual room of ours a lot of hungry young entrepreneurs and business owners who I'm sure are going to find lots of value in your experience. And I just want to start off by saying you have a lot of corporate background from the intro that I just read of you. So what made you leave a successful corporate career to become an entrepreneur?
You know, Gopolang, it's an interesting story. I don't think I regret ever being in corporate. I absolutely loved it, actually. I've worked for some of the best companies, and I've learned so much in my journey. But it came to a stage where I realized that I spent a lot of time building other people's brands and spending a lot of time, which for me was the hugest currency, in an area that I loved, but I needed to plan for the future. I became a mom when I was in corporate, and I realized that time for me was more valuable than even money. And I wanted to own my time, and I wanted to own my skill. I wanted to spend more time with my kids and not just spend an hour or 30 minutes each day just before bedtime. So I had to then make that decision. In fact, I went to a program, and one of the core areas that we looked at was writing our life plans. And when I wrote my life plan, I realized that it contradicted very much with where I wanted to be in the future. And the most important thing for me was not about the position anymore. It was about time. I wanted to own my time. And that's where the transition came through, from moving to a corporate, which I loved immensely, but I needed to own my time. So the only way to do that was to run my business. Interestingly enough, by the way, I put more time in the business, but it's the flexibility of the time that I've realized is the key.
Yes, I think that's so important what you mentioned now. I think all of us after, this lockdown and COVID have really done a lot more introspection around what is important to us in our lives. And you mentioned that you became a new mom, and I guess that maybe motivated you to going into baby food. Is
Yeah,
that true?
absolutely, absolutely. So it's also quite interesting that baby food in South Africa has always been traditionally the brands that we do know, but I think as these kids these days, they're born with allergies, they've got all types of sensitivities. And I realized, and my business partner and I, because she actually started before me, she started actually cooking at home and teaching mothers. But we realized that there wasn't a choice for food that was clean, meaning unsalted, no sugar, no fillers, no starch, no artificial coloring, no artificial flavoring. All of that wasn't available. And we realized that we needed to teach parents, I guess, or give babies the opportunity of having clean, good food for good nutrition. And I mean, in Africa, our children we've got the highest malnutrition ever. And it's not because sometimes people are hungry, we're just feeding them the wrong food. So that was one of the triggers for baby food because of, in fact, between the two of us, my business partner and I, we're mothers to 9 children. People always laugh when we say that, but 9 kids between the two of us.
Wow, you guys are doing the most, business owners and mothering 9 kids. But I think that also, leads me to asking my next question. As a mom and both of you mothering 9 kids, how do you find the balance, and how did you get to a position where you said, okay, this is where I'm staying and focusing just on this?
I think it came through knowing that the quality of our product is brilliant. I have absolutely no doubt that the product that we give that we produce is absolutely fantastic. There are days when, yes, as a business person or as a mother, you just feel like I'm quitting. It's so difficult. But at the same time, because we believe in the brand, we believe in what we've produced, it becomes very hard to just let it go. We put a lot of time and effort into an investment, into producing, into the right packaging, making sure we've got the best shelf life. So it has to be done. And we have different rhythms. I'm a night person, so I work at night. And that's fine, but I couldn't do that in corporate. I can work till like 1 o'clock in the morning or what have you, and that works. So the balance it's just about prioritization each day, because each day is different.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, Nthabe, we've got, as I mentioned, a lot of small business owners in this virtual room with us, and I want to encourage them to also just, engage with us in the chat panel as we have this conversation, because today we're simply going to talk as as women, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, and have a conversation, a candid conversation, an honest conversation about the struggles that you guys go through, and hopefully, what Nthabe's experience is and what she shares with you will also spark some new ideas or spark different ways of thinking and doing things for the small business owners and entrepreneurs on this call. So again, I encourage all of them to really engage with us on the chat panel, or even ask questions using the question panel on the side there. You mentioned something, Nthabe, that a lot of business owners have asked us as we've hosted these masterclass sessions previously in past months, and it's about the brand. How did you decide to go with Bumbles? What was that thing that what was emotional? Was it an emotional attachment? What is it? How did you get to Bumbles? So Bumbles, I see why you got to the foods, but how did you get to Bumbles?
Bumbles is my business partner's nickname. Her late father used to call her Bumbles. So that's where it came from. So it's really very babyish, I guess you could say, but it also had very sort of special meaning to her, and obviously it has to the company, because it is a family-owned company. We want to really personalize it, and without making us sort of at the forefront, because the brand is the hero. But for us, it's special. And I think that's one of the reasons why it will be very hard to let go, because it's got sentimental value. It's about what we put into it. We don't have any funding from anybody. Every single thing we have in that brand is from us. Every single cent we have is from our own pockets, and nobody's ever funded us. It's just basically built in love, I should say. It's been a slow journey, obviously, because of that, building it up, because you need a lot of capital. But it's been worth it. We would rather build it slowly and do it right than try to sort of expand quickly and remove the values that we have, because it's based on our family values as well.
You know, the funding conversation always comes up. And last month we had two ladies from Standard Bank, you know, talking to our guests about what funders or angel investors look for in businesses. So to hear you say you funded this yourself is very interesting for me, because all small business owners, well, not all, most small business owners, as well as research, will tell you that funding is the biggest need in small businesses. So how is it, because you tried and failed, or you just from the get-go decided we're going to do this ourselves?
So from the get-go, it was about nobody will fund you if you don't have anything to fund in the first place. So you've got to start somewhere. So you start with that funding, and you start with the development, you pay for that, and it's you know, small amounts here and there until you get to the final product, and then you think, okay, now I need packaging. Now you have to get into your pocket, and you need bigger funding. But the reality is that getting funding in South Africa is actually very difficult, especially for small businesses. It's almost as if the funders need you to prove that you don't need the money before they give you the money, which is a pity. And you've got to produce all types of documentation, which we have, but I think there's sometimes a person or a funder will not fund an idea. They want to see the full product. By the time we were in a position where how can I put it? By the time we got to a position where we actually needed the funding, we actually didn't need it anymore because we put so much money ourselves in. So that becomes something. And then also, a lot of funders will then say, but we want a percentage of your business. We don't want that. We don't want to dilute our business. We want to be able to make the decisions that we make. We want to be able to give only the best product without anybody saying, yes, but cut this so that the margins get better. For us, it's about the product and the brand and being true to ourselves. We want to give the best product. So it's been very difficult, Gopolang. I cannot lie to you. We would have grown so much faster if we'd had funding, but at the same time, it's nice to know that you own everything. You own the trademark, you own the recipe, you own the machinery, and that makes it a lot easier to work. Decisions are faster as well when there's less people or less shareholders to manage.
I mean, I saw when you said it's very difficult, Gopolang, I saw the expression in your face, and I wanted to, so I wanted to ask how, from a personal perspective, how did you deal with those difficult times? Because we understand as small business owners and entrepreneurs, like you said, this is yours. It's your baby. You're so emotionally invested in this idea, in this project, in this product. How did you deal with those difficult times? I think we may have lost Nthabe. But while we get Nthabe back, I think let me ask all of you guys again to please engage with us on the chat panel. And I see Sharon there has, put it in something in the chat panel. So let me read what Sharon has asked us. Or actually has mentioned. Sharon has mentioned that funding creates an expectancy and possible disappointment. Building from scratch with your own sacrifice is not so easy, but is a sure win. I think that's very interesting because, Sharon, I'm sure some of your colleagues and fellow entrepreneurs on this platform do agree with you. It's just that from what we've heard, funding becomes such a big issue, and sometimes people give up because of the lack of funding. And as Vodacom, I mean, we also have heard this need, and we've also responded with our Vodacom Financial Services product, which does give cash loans to small businesses where you can apply online and get a response within 24 hours. So we understand the speed at which the finance is required, and we also understand the emotional attachment to not wanting to give over your business to an external party. But I think it's a balance, right? And as soon as we get Nthabe back on the screen again, on the call again, we can ask her how that balance worked. But thank you for your comment there, Sharon. And I see two people really agree with you by liking that comment in the chat panel. Again, please feel free to engage further with us on the chat panel or ask questions, just like Gwen did. And if you want Gwen's question to be answered, Please keep on liking those questions, and the one with the most likes will move up. I see you, Pane, as well. And I see you're a young female that also has questions there. So we'll come to the questions and answer section at the end once we get Nthabe back on the screen. So I think while we're waiting for Nthabe to join us again, I'm sure the team is trying to make sure that she gets back on the call. I just want to understand who's on this call with me. Who am I talking to? Please give us a shout out of exactly where you are calling us from, so I can know who's in the house. As I said, I am in very cloudy and rainy Johannesburg, well, Midrand to be specific. So where are you guys from? I see 130 of you on this call. So please, in the chat panel, just shout out to the cities that you're in, drop it in the chat panel so I can see who I'm having a conversation with while we try and get Nthabe back on the call. Maybe let me help you guys along. Do we have Pretoria here? I don't see any answers in the chat. So there we go, Joburg. Thank you, Marida. Johannesburg is here. We are fully representing Johannesburg. Anybody from Pretoria? I say Pretoria, guys, because I'm from Pretoria. I'm from a small little town called Hammanskraal, north of Pretoria. So if anybody from Hammanskraal is here, please shout out so we can represent. I like that. Marupeng from Ekululeni is here. Alex in the house. Bryanston, we see you in Ngale. Yeah, Mbali, I'm also feeling the weather. It's cold today, but at least we can stay indoors. And the joys of working from home. I'm not sure how many of you are still working from home as business owners. It must be hard to just be working it from home and not having an opportunity to meet up with your customers. But hopefully, as you continue to operate and work from anywhere, at any time, that has become easier. I see we've got Nthabe, still trying to get Nthabe back. So let me see. East London. Hello, Masikole. Nice to see you from East London. I don't know how. I'm sure East London is just as cold as as Johannesburg is, as the weather is always a bit, cold over there. As I was mentioning, while we're waiting for all of our other guests to tell us where they're from. There we go, Leah from Hammanskraal. See, I've got a home girl on the call with me. I see you. And we've got Florida Park in West Rand here. Thank you, Gwen, for shouting out. Oh, everybody else from the West Rand, please support Gwen there. Make sure she doesn't feel alone from the West Rand. So while we wait for Nthabe, and I see you, Palesa, from Kempton Park. While we wait for Nthabe, I think I just wanted to just touch on the fact that, as small business owners, having had gone through the current lockdowns and shutdowns and looming lockdowns, I wanted to get a bit of your sentiment on how you're feeling about this current time that we're in. So we're going to put a poll up and see how you guys are feeling, but I see we've got Nthabe back. So watch out for the polls there, and I see your questions, but I see we've got Nthabe back. So Nthabe, welcome back.
I am so sorry, the hotel network just went down. We're in a session here and everything just went down. I really apologize for that. But I guess that is a demonstration of how business goes and how life goes sometimes. We've got to be very flexible. Sorry about that.
Exactly. That's the spirit. We have, as a business owner, you always have to be ready.
Absolutely. Things can go much worse.
And I think, and we're talking about being ready. I wanted to pick up from where we left off and also ask about how you got to be in Dis-Chem. I see Bumbles is in Dis-Chem. How were you ready to scale up to that bigger demand?
It's just through faith. I think sometimes when you have no fear, you just go out like a bull and just go for things. We realized that in order to get the footprint that we wanted, we needed to get into a retailer. So we looked at all the retailers, but Discam fortunately was very kind and allowed us to get into 18 of their stores. And then when that worked, then they expanded nationally. And that's how we've been doing it. I mean, it's not very easy. For instance, we're in Pick n Pay, but it took a year, the process of completing the forms and the listing just to get in eventually and actually have the product on shelf. It took a year. So it's all about just being patient and understanding that the systems are slow, but if you're persistent, you actually get in. We also don't have the resources, obviously, that a big corporate would have, where there's a legal team, an accounting team, the trade team to help us. So it's really one person wearing multiple hats and making sure that all the documentation is correct, the legalities are correct, the financing is correct. So it takes quite a long time, but that's how we got in. It's just through faith and just saying we know we need the footprint, and that's the only way to start. We needed to get in, so we don't even think of there's another option. It's you phone everybody, knock at every single door, and make sure that door opens.
I mean, I appreciate what you're saying and saying it's faith, but I'm sure they required more than that. Did not that, I mean, you mentioned the many documents that they require from you. What type of documents do projects like this or partnerships like this require?
Put it this way, from the very onset, each part of the value chain must be in place. So from packaging, it must be compliant packaging. It must be tested. You must know that it's safe, especially because we're in the baby industry. We have to double and triple check every single thing that we do because purely it's for babies. There's a lot of sensitivities around it. And fortunately, the government does protect children and babies. So there's legislative things that you have to follow. So from packaging all the way to testing of the product, making sure that, I mean, I'll give you an example. When we produce, we test the raw ingredients. First, we must check that it is exactly upon our spec. And from that, it's about checking that the machinery is correct, the pots are clean, you've tested them, there's no bacteria, there's nothing. From that is the cooking process, making sure that it's the right temperature, making sure that the packaging is clean, tested, everything. Every single point is checked, from raw ingredients, the machinery, material, packaging, and even afterwards. Every single sample is checked. It's micro tested because we've got a lab as well. And we keep every single sample and every single batch and make sure that even in 2 years, we can refer back to that particular batch that was produced, or even 5 years, and look at the longevity, make sure that the nutritional value of the food does not actually decline in packaging.
Yeah. And Nthabe, I mean, you mentioned a lot about the governance and the compliance side of the business that you are in. I'm sure Nthabe, who was working, at Unilever or whatever at the time, didn't know. Didn't know all of this. How did you educate yourself, or what tools did you use to educate yourself enough to know exactly what you needed to do to uphold the standards that were expected of you and your brand?
I'm very fortunate. Unilever is the best company, really, I'll be honest, in that. So as much as I was in marketing, because I was a product manager or brand manager, I knew everything that had to be done. What I didn't know was the how. So I knew the process, but because there were people in place or experts in place for each of those stages, I didn't know the detail that was required. But as you work through, Gopolang, when it's your business, as you work through, you actually, know so much detail about your own business. It's amazing. You don't learn it overnight. But you look at the first stage and say, okay, this is what is required. I need to make sure that we've got this particular certification. To do that, what is required? And you also get help. So what we do is, because we can't do everything ourselves, we outsource. We outsource to experts. And that makes it easier for us to operate because we're agile. We're able to work with people who are experts. We pay them what needs to be paid, but we got the service that we need. So, and in fact, that's one of the key things that I love about our business. We actually try to get female-owned businesses as much as possible to be our service providers, all the way down to even sales and merchandising. So where you have the gaps, get the expert. Don't try to do it yourself because then you're going to shortcut yourself and get into trouble. So that's the one tip that I would say to business owners. Get help where you're not an expert.
Yeah, and that tip comes up so often. So I'm seeing a pattern from all business owners that we've had on Masterclass, and most of them say, get the experts. You can't be, jack of all trades. You can't be an expert at everything. Get the help you need from the people who know how to do it. So how did you, as a small business owner, feel? I'm glad you're empowering other females, but how do you vet which partnerships to actually go into or which suppliers to work with?
A lot of research and a lot of industry talk. We go to people in our industry and find out who the best are. Unfortunately, I guess in South Africa there's very limited. You might have a choice of 5, and some will say no, we can't work with you because we work for a specific company, which is fine, but that helps. You do your research, but you also talk to people in your industry, because that will help you a lot. You will find out who is really, really good at what they do, and if they work and fit into your business model. Because the other thing that I must say is that there are companies that are brilliant out there, but if you're a small business, they will overlook your work because you're not so big, and they have to really take care of their bigger clients. And that's where the mistake can be. You need to work with a client or supplier that values your business, that wants to see your business grow, and that will grow with you. And we've been lucky in the sense that we found companies that are small that want to grow as well. So we are growing together. We both have a vested.
Yeah, I love that growing together piece, because I think that's what small businesses need to do more of. Find each other and grow together. Partner where it makes sense, and grow that way. But again, to partner and grow, it really depends on the strength of your brand. And you have a marketing background. So maybe you can share with some of our our guests on the call exactly how they can market their business without funds. I see Pane also asked something similar on the chat. How do you market your business without the funding?
Social media, that has been our saving grace. In South Africa, fortunately, I don't know if anybody knows that, but in some baby foods you're not allowed to advertise baby foods. And that has been to advantage, because if the bigger companies that are in the same category as us could advertise, they would have killed us a long time ago, because they've got the budgets. And so that has actually leveled the playing fields. But what we do invest a lot in is our social media, digital media. How that helps is that we're able to instantly get results and see who's interested in what topic, how they want to engage, and how often they want to engage. And also because we have a presence, a footprint in other African countries. We are in Swaziland, Namibia, Botswana, and Lesotho. It makes it easier for us, because then we don't have to worry about what the regulations or the laws there are, because everybody's just receiving all the communication. The moms are receiving the communication on their cell phones or iPads. And how we do it is we don't just throw advertising. We actually engage. So for instance, with our brand, on one particular day, we'll talk about tips on feeding babies. Another day, we'll talk about nutrition. Another day, we'll talk about how to wean babies off something. Another day, we'll just do lighthearted sort of humor, and not just throw adverts. In between that, we'll tell you there's a promotion at Discam, or if you want to buy online, go to Pick and Pay or go to Clicks. But we don't just throw adverts. We're engaging. We're actually trying to create a community and a relationship. We'll throw in tips on, at this stage, this is what's happening in baby's life. So it's more of engagement and not actually typical advertising or marketing in that sense.
Yeah, I think that's also been something we've heard repeatedly from our masters who've joined us here, that digital marketing is so important for small brands. It's also one of the things that we as Vodacom Business have solutions for. We really have smart marketing solutions that are available to help small businesses digitize their business, but have a bigger, digital footprint and presence. And I think, as you mentioned, that is one of the cheap ways to actually get your business out there. And
it's nice because you get a response quickly with it.
Yeah. So it's quick because you get instant feedback that can help give you insights on how to improve your business.
Yes.
So
And interestingly, with our social media, it's you actually engage on a one-to-one basis, because there are times when you just get an inbox message that says, my child has this problem. What do you think I should do? Or which food do you think I should actually give? So it's actually, yeah, it's very personalized. And I think it's the mothers see it not as just some big company with that is faceless, because there's an engagement happening. There's an engagement. When they say, I can't find this particular variant and my kid loves it, where can I get it? Because in Centurion is not there. We're able to respond and say, these are the shops where that particular variant is. So it's nice that way.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Nthabe. I see we've got a few questions, and I think I want to go into some of those questions and a lot of comments. So thank you all for the comments. Don't forget to put in the question section for me, so your other guests can vote for which ones they want to be answered. Nthabe, Gwen Beckton's question had the most votes, so I'm going to just share that with you, and you can share some of your thoughts on it. She has asked, how did you market your project and get support to put your project on the shelves?
We didn't market it as such. So in the beginning, when Dis-Chem agreed to do it, we gave them the product. They tasted, they smelt it, they looked at all the benefits, and they compared the market. Obviously, what we did as well, maybe I didn't mention that, is that we literally scanned the entire South African food market, and we realized that none of the baby foods were superfoods. We wanted to come up with a range that is very, very unique. We have baby spinach, we have blueberries, we have quinoa, so none of the other brands have that. So it became very unique. We filled a gap that was not there, essentially, and that is why they accepted, because then it closed their baby food range. It gave them more options. So as soon as Dis-Chem agreed to have us on, it became easier then to go to the next group and say, well, Dis-Chem has accepted us. Can we then go to Clicks? And then Clicks says, okay, good. Then Pick n Pay, the same thing. So that was actually how we built up. We needed to establish some sort of a reputation as a safe and reliable brand, and one that was going to last. Because one of the things that the corporates wanted to know is that you have longevity. They don't want to list a brand and then the next few months you're unable to function or you're not operating. So longevity is important. So scale is important, but longevity and being able to sustain your business and proving it to them is crucial.
I completely agree with longevity. I think that's what all business owners pray and hope for, longevity. And we've got a question from Tokolo. Tokolo Modisa has asked, hello everyone. Hello Tokolo. Tokolo is a 20-year-old entrepreneur, and she has recently registered her own website design company. But she says she's really struggling with clients, and marketing for it has been difficult. So are there any tips or tricks that you can give Tokolo on marketplaces or something like that where she can possibly get access to new clients?
So the one thing that is I would advise, and we've tried it ourselves, is sometimes you've got to give something away to get the feedback and to get what you need. So for instance, we give the product away so that they can taste it, smell it, and I think for a service is also important. Go to somebody who really needs that service, who has a huge following. Do something for them, create that product for them, and then let them share it. Because I think also that's the power of digital. There are so many people who are sort of trendsetters or have a huge following. Work with them so that they can actually share the expertise that you have, because sometimes advertising is not enough. You need somebody to actually back you up and say, I have used this person, I've used this company, and I'm very happy. So it's almost like you get a reference. But
yes, a referral program.
Be willing to give a little to get more, because if one person refers you to 10 people, those 10 people will refer you to other people, and you build up on that.
Good old-fashioned word of mouth.
Word of mouth, but use it as it's a sampling campaign. Sample your skill.
Yeah. We also have Panesh Tetla, who has asked, again, another young female. So there are lots of young females on this call, and that for me gives me hope as well that, we're changing the world as ladies here. We still love the gentlemen on the call, so you're still part of us. But it says, I'm a 24-year-old female that started an admin consultancy offering outsourced administration to small businesses. So she actually has a company that services other small businesses, and she wanted to ask if you believed in funding or getting business loans, because she's super scared of getting loans, she said. So she wants to know if funding or business loan, which route would you advise, or what's your experience been?
I guess that depends on your risk appetite. Because remember, when you ask for a loan anywhere or somebody funds you, you have to pay a lot more than what you borrowed. And you have to make sure that whatever it is that you're getting the funding for actually gives you the returns, because you've got to pay a certain amount at a specific time that you have agreed. And I'm very cautious with funding, because sometimes we borrow and we borrow and we borrow without having faith or without knowing whether we can actually pay that back. And that can actually ruin your business or get you in the red. So my suggestion would be go very, very slowly. Look at why you need the funding. If you can't self-fund, but you can guarantee, for instance, let's say you need the funding for a new, to build up on your business, but you actually know that you're going to get a client if you do that, then by all means, I would go for it. You almost have if I get this, I know that I will get Bumbles to sign on, because then you know that the revenue will come and you'll be able to pay it back. But if you're not sure, I would caution against getting funding just for the sake of getting funding. It must be because it's for a specific asset that you need, and you know how you're going to use it and how you're going to get the return back. Because I think sometimes a small business, you just say, I need cash flow. So understand, what do you need the funding for? Is it for cash flow, or is it to purchase an asset? Just be very, very clear, so that if something goes wrong, you know that you've got an asset. Because sometimes, especially in admin, you don't actually have an asset to give back or to sell to make the money back. So be very, very cautious of what you need the funding for and why you need it and how you're going to pay that back. Very difficult, very difficult.
Yeah. And, Nthabe, during our conversation right now, you've shared quite a few things with us. You've shared about branding and marketing, your views on the processes that you use to ensure that you're maintaining the standards of your business. You've also shared about your thinking around cash flow and financing. I just want to understand, your Bumbles is, again, in one of the biggest, chains in the country, and you seem to be really clear about it, is what you're doing and how you're doing it. Earlier you mentioned that everybody should get experts around them or help around them. What have your learnings been around human resourcing and making sure that you have the right people around you all the time in your business?
That is the key, It is the key to having survived the way we have, the people around us or the small companies that we've used around us. You do get burned, and I'll tell you that. So we've got a very clear vision of where we want to go. And then we identified, to get there, what gaps do we have as a business? Because we don't have legal, we don't have finance. You identify your gaps in order to get to where you need to. And then you start bringing them in, and you cost them, obviously, and you say, for the service, I need to pay this particular amount. And then you have a plan. You almost have a strategy, but you have a funding plan and a human resource plan that goes with it, because you don't have the resources that you have. So that has to be a very separate, very decisive plan that you need to implement. So we were very clear. We want to be the best baby food. We might not be the most known, but we want to be the best in quality, and we want to get into the African markets. In order to do that, how do we do that? Then we look at the businesses that we need to work with are Pick and Pay or Checkers, because they're in those African markets. Great. Let's list. In order to list, we need to make sure that we've got all the compliance. What do we need to get the compliance? Which suppliers do we need to make sure that we have that? And that's how we work it, almost like a project by project. If we need to get into Checkers, governance-wise, what do they require? Which resources do we need to get there? And then we pull them in. And then obviously we've got our constant, which are our normal production supplies. So sometimes we've worked with companies for a year to establish something or to achieve something. And then after that, we don't need them anymore. And then we move on to something else. So that's how we work. It's almost every year is a different plan. And we have very, very different targets. So we don't just say we want to grow by 30%. We want to grow by 30% where, when, how? Is it increasing the number of products that we have? Is it just sheerly increasing the number of customers that we have, meaning the retail groups that we have? Or is it acquiring a country? So we're very, very specific in the targets. And sometimes we fail, sometimes we win, but at the same time, every year must never be the same. You mustn't be stagnant, is what I'm saying. Try to achieve something as little as it is. Even if it's 1 year, it's just working through all the compliance that you need to get to so that next year you actually tap on that door and get in. Do that. But plan each year with your specific target and work through that target, including human resources. From the financing, human resource, marketing, all of that must work together.
So when you speak about it, it sounds very easy because it sounds like it's clear, you got a plan, do this, target that. And from the few questions we see from my young female entrepreneurs, how do they learn how to plan? I mean, I look at my week sometimes in Nthabe, I can't even plan my own week. So never mind the business, So what skills do you need, or what tools can one leverage to help learn how to plan and understand exactly what you were talking about?
I think break it down for Gopolang. I do that because if I didn't have a plan, I wouldn't want to wake up every morning to do my work because then I'm aimless. But if I this year I must acquire Botswana, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wake up every day and do research on Botswana. Who do I need to get to? Do I go into government? Who do I need, look at the legislations. Which company is there that can help me get there? So it's by breaking down the target, it makes it easier, which is why even if you've got a 5-year plan, for goodness sakes, break that plan into a year. What do I need to achieve this year? Even if it's a list of 5 things that you need to achieve this year, work at them and work at them and work at them and get the right people to work with them on you. So that's how I do it. Planning is just know what the vision is for that year. Have that list on your computer or on your wall and say, these are my 5 targets for this year. And every single day work at one of them.
Yeah. I think, with all the conversations we've had again, that has come up a number of times about vision. Having a vision of what you want your business to look like, where you want it to be. I've got another question for you from Maropeng. And Maropeng says that she's in the telecommunication space. And, they have created a glove sensor that can translate South African sign language. I mean, talk about purpose, Maropeng. Sign language into text or word. But how can they demonstrate realistic forecasts to potential investment? Any ideas or tips?
I guess a realistic forecast it's a good thing to try and attempt, but it's not always going to be possible to get the exact numbers. But at least if you have an idea of this is the segment that I'm looking for, this is who I'm reaching, then you must then do the research on it. If it's in South Africa, who am I targeting? How big is that market? How many people are there? Is it an institution? Is it a government? Is it individuals? Is it a hospital? You've got to almost do a segmentation and say, what is the market? Who's my target audience? How many are there? Is it viable? If I work with them for a year, can I cover this market? Who else? Will I own 10% of the market, or will I own 0%? 5% of it, and how much is that? So you've got to do the research there. The one thing that I forgot to say, Gopolang, is that I love research. I'm a firm believer in research. If you give me a country, I want to know what is the population, how big is the population, what is the GDP, I want to know which industries they're in. So do the research. And for instance, for that you would look at how many people would need that product. And if you know the number of people that would need the product, how would I get there? Where would this tool be more used? Is it through hospitals? Just do the research. Do the research. Because if you don't understand your market, then it becomes very difficult because you're walking in the dark, literally. So you must know your market.
I agreed. And I think that's also lessons learned from masterclasses that have the right data to help justify funding, expansion plans, all of that. Data is so important. Having the right insights is very important. So I want to move a little bit into you now, Nthabe, because you've shared so much ideas, tips, tricks, insights, learnings with us, I want to just understand what grounds you, what grounds Nthabe?
Family. The most important thing is my family. And I've always, when I said I did my life plan, one of the things that I wrote was, I want to have time, but I want to build something that I can give to my children. I don't want to give them clothes, cars. I want to give them something that they remember me by in a meaningful way, and that is my business. And I think that is the reason why I wake up each morning. Even when I want to give up, I'm thinking, I don't want to leave them a piece of land, a car, or some chickens or whatever it is. I want them to know that this is something that mommy built for us so that we can give to our own children. I'm hoping that our brand will last generationally. And the kids, I mean, my kids and even Billy Claire's kids have grown up. In fact, they're the key tasters. When we produce something new, we sit them down and we say, here, blind taste, and they do the tasting and they'll tell you, looks delicious, but it looks horrible, bad color. So, I mean, that's our target audience. So
Yeah.
we do that. But for me, it's about building a legacy, building something that is meaningful, that is bigger than me, that will go beyond. So that's what counts me, my family. That is the very reason why I do what I do.
And so apt that you're making baby foods, as well. So it makes sense. Just as we're about to close, I just want you to give top 5, either top 5 learnings, people or books our guests should follow, any top 5 of anything, top 5 things that keep you grounded, successful, and growing.
So top 5 of my learnings has been love what you do, because then there are days when you just want to run away from this business of yours. So love it. Know that even if you've had a bad day today, tomorrow you wake up and you're in love with it again. And then the second part is get the right people around you to support you, because it's very lonely in the business world. It's small, but it's lonely. So get the people around you that support you. The third one is go slowly. Don't try to do big things and then you fail dismally in a way that it takes you back 10 steps. Rather take 2 steps, grow, 2 steps, grow, so that you don't blacklist yourself and then get into a stage where you can't actually function at all. The fourth one is never miss any opportunities. Every single day is a day to look at an opportunity, whether it's a new business, a new product, innovation, anything. But every single day there are opportunities. And the last one is don't limit yourself to South Africa. I've realized that in South Africa, there's a lot of things and the market it's huge. Funny enough, they say sometimes you could say that it's a developing country, but look at the least developing countries and say, what is the opportunity there? What is it that they don't have? And then use that to actually grow your business. And that's what I do. I do a lot of sort of benchmarking. I look at the first world and say, what do they have that we don't have? And then I look at the other end and say, what don't they have that we can have? And then build your business around that. Don't limit yourself. Opportunities are there and they're wide, but don't limit yourself.
I love that. Thank you so much, Nthabe. I know you snuck out of a board meeting to come and have a conversation with us, and I can hear that serving you tea. So especially in this cold weather, it's time for tea. But thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and just being so open and candid with us and our guests. We really appreciate the openness. I think that's what it's about. That's what Fast Forward series and the Masterclass is about peers, hearing from peers, hearing from people who have gone before them and not repeating the same mistakes.
Absolutely.
There's so much to do out there that we just need to know what it is that works and go out and do it. So thank you again for your time.
For having me as well. And I wish every single person the best of luck. Small business is the key to South Africa or the African market. We have to build our small businesses so that we can actually employ more people, be innovative and stop importing things but rather start actually exporting. We've got the potential to do it, and I wish you the best luck. Don't give up. It's very difficult. I'm not joking. It's very difficult, but every single day there's an opportunity to take. So take it. Thank you so much.
So before you run away, maybe just give out a few of your social media handles where other aspiring entrepreneurs can follow and see what you're up to, support, or even ask for guidance from you.
Yes. Is there a platform where you'll be sharing them? Because I can send them to you, and then you could just.
I can definitely do that. Or you can just share what you can remember top of mind, the most important ones right now. And as always, to our guests, these recordings of Fast Forward Master Series are also on the Fast Forward website and also on YouTube. But if you can share one of your handles right now, Nthabe, that would be great.
Great. The first one is just go to bumbles.co.za, and then from there you'll get all the others.
Fantastic. That's good enough for us.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Let me run before I get fired from my board meeting. Cheers.
Thank you, Nthabe. Thank you so much. So to all our guests on the call, thank you again for joining us. If you were new to Fast Forward Masterclass, we're so glad you could join us today. If you have been with us before, we are so glad you came back, and we look forward to seeing you in our future Fast Forward Masterclass series sessions, as well as all the other Fast Forward series that are available to you as entrepreneurs. Please do visit our Fast Forward series page, where you can see the schedule of all the other business skills and development training available through our partners. All of them are free of charge, because as Vodacom Business, we really believe that you as entrepreneurs are the heartbeat of our communities, and we want to ensure that you have the right tools to support you. And that's why as Vodacom Business, we partner with small businesses to give you the solutions that help you grow wherever you are in your journey as an entrepreneur. So please do visit us, vodacombusiness.co.za, or visit Fast Forward Series page and learn about what's coming up. In December, we're going to have another masterclass, our last one for the year, for the calendar year, and it's going to be an exciting one. So look out for who will be joining us on this platform, on our social media pages, or again on the Fast Forward Series page, where you registered for this exciting session today. You will find the details there, or vodacombusiness.co.za. Again, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all the engagement that you guys gave us on the chat panel. I see you, Ngale, I see you, Mbali, I see all of you guys there. Thank you so much. We do have a poll though, so don't forget to give us your thoughts there on the poll, just as we close off, so we can just have a sense of where your thinking is, where your mind is, and cater to that with our future classes to ensure that we're answering all the questions that keep you up at night in our journey to support you as a business partner. So have a fantastic day from wherever you are. East London, I saw you. Kempton Park, I saw you. All of you in Midrand, Johannesburg, have a fantastic afternoon, and we'll see you again at the next masterclass. Take care and bye-bye.